Whispers in the void for centuries. Humanity had walked the delicate line between diplomacy and destruction. The galactic community, a sprawling network of alien species bound by fragile treaties and interstellar protocols, had always underestimated. To them, humans were peculiar and volatile, but ultimately harmless. They were an oddity, a species capable of great kindness, yet harboring an unpredictable edge. What the galaxy failed to realize was that this edge was not a flaw, but a weapon, one honed by millennia of survival. The tipping point began as whispers. On the mining colony of Kepler-62f, an outer rim planet rich in calarium, the most valuable resource in the known galaxy, human workers were disappearing. Official reports claimed accidents and miscommunications, but the survivors told a different story. They spoke of systemic abuse, forced labor, and aliens, the Vralik Consortium, using humans as disposable tools. These tales weren't isolated. Similar reports began filtering in from other colonies, each more harrowing than the last. Human miners described grueling shifts under unbreathable atmospheres, supervisors who viewed them as expendable, and accidents that seemed all too deliberate. The Galactic Council, in their lofty chambers, dismissed the complaints as human. Dramatics, they issued generic statements about ongoing investigations, but nothing ever changed. It wasn't the first time humanity's pleas had fallen on deaf ears, but this time something broke. Earth issued a final warning. Stop the abuses, or we will respond. The Council laughed. Humanity had no fleet, no significant military presence. They were traders, explorers, and scientists, not warriors. What could they possibly do? Some council members even mocked the message publicly, their disdain for humanity's boldness evident. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy seemed to hold its breath. Human diplomats withdrew from key negotiations. Cargo ships bearing Earth CE insignia took different routes, avoiding major trade hubs. On human colonies, whispers turned into quiet resolve. Factories churned out equipment in secret, and scientists worked tirelessly in hidden research stations. Humanity, it seemed, had chosen silence over submission. The silence that followed that warning would soon become deafening. Sparks of defiance. When the next freighter arrived at Kepler-62f, it found the colony in ruins. Human workers, those who hadn't been executed, were scattered among the wreckage, their hollow eyes telling stories of torment. The Vralik, however, were nowhere to be found. Every alien overseer had vanished, leaving only blood-stained machinery and cryptic scorch marks that didn't match any known weaponry. The galaxy shrugged. Another skirmish, another unsolved mystery, in a universe brimming with them. But Earth's message was clear: enough. Human colonies across the outer rim began fortifying. Trade routes shifted, human ships traveling in tight convoys instead of relying on galactic protections. Diplomatic channels grew colder, and where humanity once sought partnership, they now spoke in terse, calculated tones. Yet this defiance wasn't just visible in trade routes or diplomatic exchanges. Across human space, technological advancements began to accelerate at an unprecedented pace. Scientists pushed the limits of weaponry, communications, and even stealth technology, fueled by an unspoken understanding. They were on their own. On Mars, rumors spread of vast underground facilities dedicated to weapon research. On Luna, entire shipyards operated around the clock, producing sleek, unmarked vessels that vanished into the void as quickly as they were completed. The Vralik Consortium sent emissaries to Earth, claiming they had no knowledge of the abuses. Their lies were met with a single response: a transmission broadcast to every major galactic hub. Kepler-62f is just the beginning. The broadcast included images, charred remains of Vralik overseers, their once imposing frames reduced to lifeless husks. The human workers who had survived stood defiantly in the background, their injuries a testament to what they had endured. It was not only a message but a declaration. Humanity would no longer suffer in silence. In the halls of the Galactic Council, debates grew heated. Some species called for sanctions, others for military intervention, but none could ignore the shift in humanity's demeanor. This was not the meek cooperative species they had grown accustomed to. This was something else entirely, a force awakening, and it was terrifying. The first strike, the galaxy's first real taste of human retaliation, came on the trade moon of Thalassa Prime, a bustling hub controlled by the Vralik Consortium. For decades, it had been the center of commerce and exploitation, a place where deals were struck at humanity's expense. One ordinary cycle, as cargo freighters unloaded their goods, the skies darkened. Without warning, the Vralik's orbital defense platforms erupted in fire. Precision strikes targeted key systems, disabling the platforms before they could retaliate. What followed was a surgical assault. Sleek, unmarked vessels, their design unlike anything seen before, descended from orbit. They bypassed the moon's remaining defenses as though they weren't even there. Automated drones swarmed over the Vralik outposts, disabling infrastructure with electromagnetic pulses. By the time ground forces mobilized, it was too late. When the dust settled, the moon was silent. The Vralik's communications hub, once the nerve center of their operations, was a smoldering crater. Cargo ships were confiscated, their contents redirected to human colonies. Every piece of technology, every document, every computer was stripped and taken. The few surviving Vralik workers were left unharmed, their terror a message in itself. Humanity had chosen its targets carefully. The Galactic Council was in uproar. No species had ever dared to attack a trade hub of such importance. It wasn't just the audacity of the assault, but its precision. Whoever had planned the operation knew the Vralik's vulnerabilities better than they did. The Council demanded answers, but humanity remained silent. The only acknowledgement came in the form of a second broadcast. This is only the beginning. The Vralik, humiliated and enraged, called for war. But even as they mobilized their fleets, doubts crept in. What had once been a species they dismissed, as primitive, had struck with a sophistication that rivaled the galaxy's greatest militaries. And they weren't done yet. Echoes of war as the Vralik prepared their counterstrike. They found themselves in an increasingly precarious position. Supply lines were disrupted by human raids, their ships ambushed in deep space. Entire fleets vanished into the void, their wreckage discovered weeks later, torn apart with ruthless efficiency. Every attempt to locate humanity's hidden bases ended in failure. Earth's colonies had become fortresses, their defenses impenetrable. The psychological toll was immense. Vralik soldiers spoke of ghost ships appearing out of nowhere, striking, without warning before vanishing into the darkness. Rumors spread of human weapons capable of tearing through shields, of stealth technology that rendered their fleets blind. Fear began to fester, weakening their resolve. In one particularly bold move, a Vralik fleet attempted to blockade Earth itself. They arrived in orbit, expecting a show of force to bring humanity to its knees. Instead, they were met with silence. Earth's surface was dark, its cities shielded by a network of advanced energy barriers. As the Vralik ships descended, they triggered a hidden minefield. Explosions rippled through their formation, tearing vessels apart before they could react. The survivors fled, their humiliation broadcast across the galaxy. The message was clear. Humanity was no longer playing by the galaxy's rules. A new order. The turning point came at the Battle of Sirius Gate, a critical jump point controlled by the Vralik. Humanity's fleet emerged from hyperspace, their ships bristling with unrecognizable technology. The battle was swift and brutal. Human forces overwhelmed the Vralik defenders, seizing control of the gate and cutting off their access to vital systems. The galaxy watched in stunned silence as humanity dismantled the Vralik's power piece by piece. Alliances shifted, with smaller species quietly supporting Earth, hoping to avoid their wrath. The Galactic Council, once the epitome of order, was paralyzed by indecision. What set this battle apart wasn't just humanity's firepower, but their coordination. The human fleet operated as if they were anticipating the Vralik's every move. Advanced artificial intelligence systems integrated seamlessly with human strategists, creating a synergy the galaxy had never seen before. The result was devastating. Precision. Following the battle, humanity didn't rest. They solidified their control over key systems, ensuring the Vralik could no longer rebuild their power. Their leaders were captured, their resources redistributed to the colonies they had oppressed for so long. For the first time in history, humanity dictated terms to the galaxy. In the aftermath, the Vralik Consortium was officially dismantled. Trials were held on Earth, where the horrors of their crimes were laid bare for all to see. Reparations flowed to human colonies, rebuilding not just infrastructure but trust. Other species began to reevaluate their relationships with humanity, some out of fear, others out of genuine respect. The price of peace years later, the galaxy had changed. Humanity's rise had reshaped the balance of power, their defiance a reminder that even the smallest spark could ignite a revolution. The scars of the conflict remained, but so did the lessons. On Earth, a new generation looked to the stars with pride and determination. They were no longer the overlooked, the underestimated. They were a force to be reckoned with, a species that had turned their patience into power. The galaxy would never forget the day humanity lost its patience, and neither would humanity itself. Even as the galaxy settled into its new order, whispers of humanity's resolve lingered. Human researchers delved deeper into their technologies, perfecting their advancements. They offered no assurances to the Galactic Council, only a quiet warning. Peace is earned and maintained, not taken for granted. It was a fragile peace, but it held. And in the silence of the cosmos, humanity's quiet preparations continued. Because patience, as history had shown, was a finite resource, and they would never be caught unprepared again.